This is it.
This is it.
30 years.
No.
And here we come to a day where I honestly, for me, I can't imagine a day you not working here.
It's been a while. It's been a minute. Since '95 and in the market since '89. In life, you know, the first hurricane that I ever talked about professionally was Alicia, because I was hired in 1982.
Oh my gosh.
And then that was in August of, I think, 17th of 1983. And so I was on air for the first time talking about a hurricane.
Yes.
Professionally, you know, and it was like, it's going to Houston. And then in 1989, I was going to Houston. And here I've been ever since.
What are your memories about all of the storms that have come through here? Is there any one or two or three that stick out more than the others?
Well, you know, Ike was Ike, and Bolivar was decimated, and then people, then they wouldn't let us go to the west end of Galveston to see what was happening. Well, when you won't let somebody go, it's like, okay, why not? Well, what's up? What are we not seeing?
We are truly going to miss you. The smile, the jokes, the puns, the knowledge, the expertise. We are going to miss it tremendously, and we hope you have a wonderful next chapter of your life. All of us are rooting for you.
There you
saying,
go.
Hey,
see,
we want this happiness, and we want these dinners, and we want this time off. And when there's a storm coming,
I'll pray for you.
Yes, you pray for us. And at the time, we hope that you have peace. So thank you so much.
Teamwork makes the dream work.
That's right.
Yeah,
that is right.
It's a pleasure. Good luck to you all.
All right, thanks. Don't go away. Your Hurricane Flood and Survival Guide is coming up next.
The 2024 hurricane season could be one of the most active along the Texas coast in years. And with Houston ranking as one of the fastest growing metros in the U.S., there are a lot of people moving here who don't know the ins and outs. But even if you're a native, getting caught off guard by just one storm can be devastating. The KPRC2 Storm Tracker team is helping you make sure your family and your home are ready. From the studios of KPRC2, sponsored by Quality Home Products of Texas, Houston Window Experts, and BKV Energy, this is the Hurricane and Flood Survival Guide.
After a fairly quiet year for the Texas coast in 2023, with only one tropical storm landfall, we could be looking at a very different picture heading into the 2024 season. Thank you for joining us. I'm Anthony Giannis. We've already seen major weather events this year, including two in less than a month. In late April and early May, communities along the Trinity River saw water rise up to and sometimes inside their homes after a tornado and downpours moved through. Several counties declared a state of disaster, and just weeks later, a devastating storm, including both a tornado and a derecho, caused damage from Waller to downtown Houston. 8 people died at the peak of the storm's aftermath. More than 1 million people were without power. For some, it took a week to restore electricity. Tonight, we're exploring the lessons learned from past weather events and how Southeast Texas is using it all to move forward. So let's start from the beginning. What kind of season are we expecting this year? It is predicted to be a busy hurricane season. In fact, I've put up 3 different forecasts here. One from Weatherbell, who we're close partners with, that say there could be 25 to 30 named storms, 14 to 16 hurricanes, 6 to 8 major storms. CSU, which is really the group, Colorado State University, has been doing hurricane forecasting for decades, is coming up with 23 named storms, 11 hurricanes, 5 major. NOAA has never had, the National Hurricane Center, had a forecast that's been this high. 17 to 25, 8 to 13 hurricanes, 4 to 7 major storms. Notice how this compares to average, 14, 7, and 3. So why? What's the reason? Well, when you look currently at what's going on in the tropics, things are nice and quiet, but this is one of the keys, is that we have transitioned from an El Nino season to a La Nina. So what you're seeing here with the sea surface temperature anomalies, these are the below average temperatures off the coast of South America. That is just a staple of what La Nina looks like. But when you get a La Nina, typically what you have warmer than average temperatures in the Gulf, the Caribbean, and the Atlantic. And here we are early hurricane season, and we're already seeing that. In fact, when you look at the sea surface temperatures from the Gulf of Mexico, the Caribbean to the Atlantic, already what you're seeing is water temperatures in the mid-80s from the Gulf of Mexico, the Caribbean, all the way out to the Atlantic Ocean. And these are temperatures you would usually only see late July, early August, and already we're there. And here's the last element. This is the ocean heat content. How warm is the water at depth? And so those were all the surface temperatures, but at depth, you're seeing this area in the Caribbean starting to go into the loop current here into the Gulf of Mexico, where you have temperatures that are plus 80 degrees now going deeper. So what that means is when a storm starts to form and go over these areas, it can rapidly intensify, and the waters are so warm right now, it is serving as fuel for these storms not only to form, but to intensify rapidly, and we're hardly into the hurricane season.
Okay, so now let's talk about the ingredients that you need to be able to create a tropical storm or even a hurricane. One of the most important is this right here. You have to have water temperatures of at least 80 degrees. We've certainly got plenty of that in the Gulf of Mexico, and this year in particular, both the Atlantic and the Caribbean have been starting warmer sea surface temperatures than we've seen in quite some time. So that ingredient is there. So what happens is that warm air begins to rise. That rising air causes storms and clouds to form. Very similar to what you would see on a summer afternoon as we start to get the thunderstorms moving through our area. As that process repeats itself, the outside air starts to rush in to replace that air that's rising. And that continual rising motion aids in additional storm development. They get bigger and bigger and bigger till eventually you start to get a very strong upward motion and you're pulling in air from all sides. And that's what creates this sort of upward spin around an area of low pressure at the center of the storm. So let's take a hurricane and let's slice it in half. So what we're looking at in particular is that area of low pressure that is swirling at the surface creates that rising motion in the thunderstorms. And it's creating that little outward effect. Conversely, at the top of the storm, an area of high pressure starts to develop. That starts to create a sinking air effect, which results in clearer skies. Remember, high pressure compresses and dries out the air. So while the thunderstorm clusters are swirling around the center of that storm, the eye, the clear part of the storm, is created by that area of high pressure right at the top. And that's when we start tracking things here at the Storm Tracker 2 Weather Center for you and your family. Now let's get over to meteorologist Adja Swad.
The Gulf Coast is no stranger to the wrath of tropical storms and hurricanes. Home developers in Surfside are adapting by building to new heights.
It's like your own slice of paradise out here.
A slice of paradise that Garrett Davison and his family have built beach houses on and lived on for generations.
What was it like? You said you grew up here on Surfside. What was it like growing up?
It's almost every day is like a vacation.
And the part of the vacation comes along with hurricane season. So is that something that you've gotten used to?
You kind of get used to not knowing if a storm's going to come and just knowing that everything you own is disposable, basically.
Surfside has been in the path of storms like Rita, Harvey, and Nicholas, damaging homes and even eroding important dune systems that protect property from being one with the shoreline.
Are we building better?
Absolutely, and a lot more is going into these houses than previously.
From the windows to the foundation, it's designed with storms in mind.
The standards, I should say, for building, this would have been a little lower.
Absolutely. So this foundation is about 4 foot above sea level, and this one's 17. So we're about 13 out, give or take. And so you see a lot more steel in these buildings. And then the double stringer system, we used to use single stringer systems, so you're seeing a lot more wood. And then the spacing on these are on 12s. We used to be able to do 16. So you're seeing a lot more wood and a lot more bolting systems in this house.
More material to stand up to tropical force winds and rains cost builders and buyers a pretty penny. But the cost of safety is a price tag that is priceless.
What is that feeling of completion like?
It's really nice to drive by a project that you've finished successfully, and then it's also a good feeling after a storm to come back and see that that project is still there. So that's why we build to such high standards. We want to make sure that those houses are there a long time.
We are living in a warming world. In fact, year after year, our sea surface temperature in the Atlantic, it's setting records, and that includes this year as well. But what does that mean for our tropical season? Well, bottom line, it's getting worse. We're seeing more storms, stronger winds, heavier rainfall, and higher storm surge. And all of this is correlated to our warming world. Let's start with an increased number of storms. Last year, we saw 20 named storms. That was the fourth highest total since 1950. On average, we only see 14 named storms. And if you're curious, the highest number, that was within the last 5 years. In 2020, we saw an astonishing 30 named storms in the Atlantic Basin. Unfortunately, we're not just seeing more storms, we're seeing stronger winds with these storms. When you have warm water, it acts as fuel and energy, and this causes hurricanes to rapidly intensify. This is going to be a trend as we go through the next several decades. We mentioned that we see heavier rainfall, and that actually has to do with the warm air above the ocean water. For every 1 degree increase in Fahrenheit for our air, we can hold 4% more water vapor. This translates to heavier rainfall and more flooding during a hurricane. As for our higher storm surge, we have melting ice on the poles, and that's causing our sea level to rise, not just globally, but even here in Texas. This is Galveston Pier 21. From 1950 to today, we've seen our sea level rise by 20 inches. This means when we have storm surge, it's even more enhanced than what we've seen in the past. So the big picture is that we are living in a warming world. Unfortunately, that does mean our hurricanes will be more frequent and more intense, which is why now more than ever, it's important for you and your family to be prepared.
Each and every hurricane is different, from the size, the hazards it brings, and how it impacts a region. So up next, we're looking at how a different storm could bring devastating impacts to our home. Plus, we're paying more for just about everything, including the essentials for our own hurricane kits. But there are ways to keep your costs down without sacrificing safety. Brittany Begley showing you how to shop smarter this hurricane season. And as we head to break, here's a quick tip. Now is the time to double check your family's communication plan. As we've seen before, a strong storm can knock out Wi-Fi and cell connections for days. So make sure your household has a plan to meet up and a backup way to get word to loved ones out of town.
The KPRC2 Hurricane and Flood Survival Guide is sponsored by Houston Window Experts. Need new windows? It pays to talk to an expert.
We needed to replace our windows, and so we called a bunch of different companies. I'll not mention their names because of the really, really high pressure sales, which was a big turnoff. And then we heard about Houston Window Experts. And Josh came to our house, explained the products. No pressure. It was very comfortable. And are we glad that we bought those windows, because we really like them a lot.
As the school year comes to a close, we're getting our first look at HISD STAR test results. What Superintendent Mike Miles is saying about the results for NES schools and non-NES schools at 10.
Then they're tiny, they're winged, and they pack a pretty mean bite. And no, I'm not talking about mosquitoes. We're helping a local family fight a different kind of infestation. What you need to know before you try to tackle this fight on your own. Tonight on KPRC2 News at 10.
This house is a Generac house, and you're just the person to keep it running. Because a proud homeowner has a protective instinct. And frankly, the brains to know the grid is gonna let you down sometimes. That's why when the rest of the block is lighting candles and looking for flashlights, you're ready to rock and roll. It's not just a generator, it's Power Move. Request a free quote today.
It all starts with a Chevy truck. Chevy Silverado with the TurboMax engine and best-in-class standard torque. And Chevy Silverado HD with up to 14 available camera views. Whatever you do more in a Chevy truck. Get yours now. Get $5,750 total cash allowance on this Silverado with a 5.3-liter engine. That's 10% below MSRP. Chevy drives Texas. Together, let's drive.
There's no better tool in our arsenal to help understand future storms than to look at past hurricanes. Each and every tropical system is different. They're different in size. They have different impacts and they can affect regions differently. KPRC2's Gage Golding is along the southwest coast of Florida, where Hurricane Ian made landfall in 2022. It's the most recent major hurricane to hit a big metro. Tonight, he reports how a storm like Ian could be much different than what we've seen recently.
Our building was swaying back and forth. There was smoke coming up the stairwell.
It was heartbreaking, flying over people with dogs and children, and they're waiting for help.
Where we're standing right now probably had 10 feet of storm surge.
It has been nearly 2 years since Hurricane Ian hit southwest Florida, yet here in the town center of Fort Myers Beach, the damage can be seen just about anywhere you look. Businesses that are still struggling to reopen with the slow rebuilding process, and the island's iconic pier still untouched. Hurricane Ian delivered a devastating double punch to southwest Florida. Catastrophic Category 5 winds and historic storm surge, an incredibly damaging and deadly combination, but much different than what we saw here in Houston during Hurricane Harvey.
Harvey was, I think, a slightly weaker storm, but they obviously had two very different kind of the effects.
Ian and Harvey, two very different hurricanes, impacting two vastly different areas, but both having the same outcome: utter devastation.
This bullseye of 40 inches of rain affecting millions of people.
While Houston was spared the worst of Harvey's wind and storm surge, we're just as prone to a catastrophic impact from a storm just like Ian.
You have all this water that's pulled up in front of the storm, and then once you get up into that step, it exacerbates.
We've seen that exact scenario play out before with Hurricane Ike and with other past hurricanes far before modern technology.
We found some historic records of 20 feet for the, I think it was the 1900 Galveston storm.
But today, we have technology, including this, a $100,000 drone. The drone and LiDAR sensor on the bottom are being used to map the Florida Gulf Coast before, immediately after, and years following Hurricane Ian.
The mapping we're doing sort of reveals vulnerabilities along the coast.
Vulnerabilities like this: areas of the beach badly eroded by storm surge, which can undermine buildings, leading to even more destruction.
The storm surge actually causes problems twice. Once coming in, the so-called flood surge, and once going out, the ebb surge, and that returning water created, horrendous conditions.
The worst of the erosion is near the beach access points, purposeful cuts and dunes, which are meant to protect us. While some researchers use technology, others are tapping into Mother Nature's wisdom.
Nature does more in resilience than it does in resistance.
Wynn Evram from the Water School at Florida Gulf Coast University is studying how nature handles hurricanes.
One of the answers is that different species handle it in different ways. We had Donna in '60. We, 44 years later, had Charlie. 11 years later, we had Irma. 5 years later, we had Ian.
A trend that keeps first responders busier and busier.
Texas A&M Task Force 1 is by far the busiest team in the country.
Director Jeff Saunders manages this $7 million cache of equipment. He's been to every major hurricane in the last 20 years, including both Ian and Harvey.
Is there an easier type of hurricane to respond to?
One that goes into non-populated areas.
Whether it's historic rains from Harvey or inundating storm surge from Ian,
it's still going to involve the same amount of search and rescue.
The same goes for law enforcement.
There's people out here waving for help, trying to get out of.
These pilots with the Lee County Sheriff's Office flying us today were the first in the sky after Hurricane Ian.
And there were things still like actively burning down.
Even the region's leading law enforcement agency is learning lessons and sharing what they learned with other departments.
Every single day at noon, I delivered updates to our citizens.
First responders had to evacuate themselves as Ian bore down on southwest Florida, leaving people who refused to evacuate in their homes, where many wouldn't make it.
Storm surge is very real, and it killed a lot of people.
On the island of Fort Myers Beach, recovery and rebuilding is everywhere you look, but it took a while to get here. On an island where 1/3 of the buildings were destroyed and not a single vehicle survived, residents were stranded off the island.
Make sure you have a really good plan, not only to get out away from the storm, but to be able to come back to your community after the storm.
But their biggest issue is out of Vice Mayor Jim Adderholt's hands.
It's an issue we're dealing with right here in Houston.
Our primary obstacle to recovery has been the insurance companies. And I think for your folks and your viewers in Texas, they need to be prepared for the insurance industry to be non-responsive.
With every hurricane comes a new set of lessons we can all learn from. From Florida to Texas, each time a community is knocked down, it can help another build back quicker and stronger. On Fort Myers Beach, Florida, Gage Golding, KPRC2 News.
I think most of us are familiar with how hurricanes are rated. We have categories 1 through 5 describing a storm's intensity. The scale was developed in the early 1970s by Herbert Saffer and Robert Simpson, the then director of the National Hurricane Center. At the time, there was no way to assess the potential damage from winds greater than 75 miles per hour. So the pair created the Saffer-Simpson wind scale. Here's what the scale means. A hurricane starts at Category 1 strength with winds of 74 to 96 miles per hour. This creates scattered wind damage. Now, Category 2 storms have wind speeds of 96 to 110 miles per hour. These are very dangerous winds, creating moderate damage. Ike in 2008 was a Category 2 storm. Now, the major hurricanes start at Category 3 and above. These bring extensive damage with winds 111 to 129 miles per hour. Alicia from 1983 was a Category 3. Category 4 storms have winds of 130 to 156 miles per hour. Carla in 1961 was an example of this catastrophic storm. Finally, there are Cat 5 storms with consistent wind speeds greater than 157 miles per hour. And you can see how powerful these winds are. But there's an issue. Here's the issue. Everything I've talked about so far, the Saffer-Simpson scale, the impacts go beyond wind. All I've mentioned so far are winds. There's storm surge, there's flooding, and even recently there's been enough of a controversy to say, hey, storms are getting stronger. There should be a Category 6 with 192 mile per hour winds and above. So our partners that we work with at weatherbell.com say what we should be transitioning to, and probably won't happen, but we should be transitioning to is what's called a power and impact scale. So they use the Saffer-Simpson scale as the foundation. But what's the pressure tendency of a storm? Is it getting higher, which means the storm is weakening, or is it lowering, which means the storm is strengthening? What's the radius of the winds? Is this a large storm or is it a small storm? A Cat 4 or Charlie in 2004 is an example of a small storm, but you have Sandy, for example, with winds going out 200 miles. That was not even really rated a tropical system at the time. They would rate that a highly strong storm. How powerful and impactful will the storm be? Much more than what are only the winds. That's what they're saying what they'd like to do. Right now, nothing is changing with how storms are rated. Houston is heading into this hurricane season with a new mayor at the helm for the first time in years. And John Whitmire's approach may be very different.
Everyone has to use their years of training, their years of relationships.
Still ahead, I'm sitting down with him to talk about the disasters he's already seen during his time in City Hall and how he's preparing for the upcoming months. And here's a hurricane fact you may not know. During tropical systems, the vast majority of deaths come from either drowning or being hit by wind-blown debris. After the storm passes, the most common causes of death and injury include electrocution, falling trees, and infections.
This is our time from 9 to 9. We own the night, and don't forget rent. This is our time, and we pay for your prime.
Wow, 12 hours of free power each night between 9 p.m. and 9 a.m. and an Amazon Prime membership when I switch to Direct Energy?
When I was your age, we never had anything like this.
What, Wi-Fi?
Wi-Fi that works all over the house, even the basement.
The basement? So I can finally throw that party and invite Shannon Barnes.
Dreams do come true. Get started with Xfinity Gig Internet for $25 a month when you add mobile. Plus, get Wi-Fi equipment included.
Maybe we'll even get married one day.
I wonder what I'll be doing.
Probably still living here with Mom and Dad.
Fast, reliable speeds, right where you need them. That's wall-to-wall Wi-Fi with Xfinity.
So we needed new windows, and so we called the bigger companies. And we got the sales pitches, and my God, were they terrible. High pressure, sign on the dotted line, turned us off. and we heard about Houston Window Experts. And my wife is very pleased with our new windows.
At Houston Window Experts, we treat you and your family with honesty, dignity, and respect. We will never pressure you into buying new windows. Here's my promise. This will be the most delightful home improvement experience you've ever had.
Did you know in Texas, if you don't have the right credit score, the right driving record, or if you're not bundling, you may be overpaying as much as $1,700 a year for your car insurance? At Fred Loya Insurance, we look for more and better ways to save you more. Like customers in Texas who switched from Geico, Allstate, and Progressive to Fred Loya saved an average of over $1,700 per year. Call us today and see how much you can save. Fred Loya Insurance, celebrating 50 years of saving you more on your car insurance.
Knowing your evacuation zone is one of the key parts of hurricane preparedness. This is the map of the Houston area flood zones. Families in the purple zone closest to the coast will be the first to be told to evacuate. Now, if the storm is strong enough, expect the yellow zone to get the evacuation order next, followed by the green and the orange zones. It is important to note that a big part of our region is not in an evacuation zone and would be encouraged not to get out on the road. We know it's a lot to take in, so we posted this map on click2houston.com so you can get a closer look at it. It's part of our digital hurricane survival guide.
Whether it's a hurricane or a strong storm, we have seen the power go out in the Houston area for families days at a time, if not longer. That's where a generator can come in. It can keep the lights on, but we want to be sure you are staying safe when you're using it. And we are joined now by Andy Johns. He is Assistant Sales Manager with Quality Home Products of Texas. All right, we're talking generators today. Andy, when families are considering a generator for their home, what are some things they should factor in?
The biggest thing is, of course, going to be safety and just making sure that the generator can run the load that you're trying to run, which would be the size of the house. But the biggest mistakes that we see made is just not having the proper clearance and requirements around the generator. For example, you want to make sure that you're 5 feet from any kind of vents, like especially even in the attic, any kind of dryer vents, windows, any kind of opening in the house. You want to make sure you have 5 feet because this is going to produce carbon monoxide. It's run by natural gas, which obviously can be really dangerous if that carbon monoxide is getting into the house. So proper clearance is really important. Also from this side, this is where your exhaust is going to blow out. So that is hot air that's blowing out of the engine. So you want to make sure that you're at least 5 feet from any kind of flammable material like the fence. You don't want to plant any kind of bushes beside it. You don't want it to be blowing towards the house because that's going to be a fire hazard.
Obviously, Quality Home Products of Texas, y'all have been in business for a long time. And when it comes to choosing an installer to put a generator, either a standby generator or to purchase a portable generator for your home, you want to go with a pro.
Right, exactly. Yeah, you definitely want to make sure all the requirements that I was telling you about, you want to make sure you go with someone reputable that knows how these need to be placed.
Yeah, comfort is one thing. Obviously, we want to keep the lights on during a storm, but safety is paramount. Andy Johns, thank you so much for spending time with us today.
Too often, families leave behind their pets as they evacuate. How you should start preparing now to make sure every creature in your home gets out safely. And here's a preparation tip most people forget. The aftermath of a tropical system usually brings a torrent of bugs. Mosquitoes thrive in the dampness and humidity of the storm's aftermath. So make sure you have insect repellent ready.
The KPRC2 Hurricane and Flood Survival Guide is sponsored by Quality Home Products. You're not powerless.
A Kohler home generator never misses a beat. It automatically powers your entire home in seconds and keeps your family connected. With a heavy-duty commercial-grade engine and no refueling, even when the power goes out, life rocks on.
Our southern weather is unpredictable.
We know you've seen a thing or two.
Like heavy rainstorms, extreme heat, and flying debris.
Your New South windows are custom built for your home and designed for extreme conditions.
That's why you need New South by your side.
Enjoy comfort,
Safety, and security.
We install peace of mind with our lifetime guarantee. Superior Windows, Factory Direct.
New South proud.
Save 40% off Factory Direct windows and doors installed.
It all starts with a Chevy truck. Chevy Silverado with the Turbo Max engine and best-in-class standard torque. And Chevy Silverado HD with up to 14 available camera views. Whatever you do, do more in a Chevy truck. Get yours now. Get $5,750 total cash allowance on this Silverado with a 5.3-liter engine. That's 10% below MSRP. Chevy drives Texas. Together, let's drive.
The biggest American holiday of the year is the 4th of July as we celebrate Independence Day. Well, at Gallery Furniture, we decided to start the 4th of July Independence Day sale early where you can save on beautiful Made in America sofas, love seats, save on Made in America recliners, save on Made in America solid wood bedroom furniture, dining room furniture, save on Made in America Tempur-Pedic and Simmons Beauty Rest sleep sets. It started early. It's going on tonight till 10 o'clock. 4th of July Super Zone for the 10.
When it comes to having a plan in place, making sure your whole family is ready for a hurricane is key. And we're not just talking about people. Pets need an evacuation plan too. After all, you don't want to leave these guys behind, do you? KPRC2's Lisa Hernandez is at the Houston SPCA with what you need to know to keep your animals safe.
Hey, yeah, guys, we want to talk about pet preparedness now that we are fully into hurricane season. Joining us to talk about it right now is Julie Kenstill with the Houston SPCA. We are in a portion of your lovely shelter here off Old KV Road. Yes. Thanks for talking about this with us. It's so important. We just saw a ton of awful wind and rain, two rounds of it, really. You guys were nearly deployed. How important is it, Julie, for folks to be prepared?
Oh, gosh. You know, if people are new to Houston, please listen up. Take a moment and think about Hurricane Harvey. Think about the recent storms a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
We were not expecting that.
Right.
And it happens. And so this hurricane season, we don't know, right? So it's really, really important to have everything done. Just check it off your list. You can get a really big crate, get a crate. That was the #1 thing that I think you need to do, like right now.
Yes.
Is get them acclimated.
Okay, so we have got Mr. Hercules. Yeah. He's going to demonstrate what it is to be crate ready.
When you're at home, you can put dog treats in there. Let them wander in there during the day to go in there. Maybe let them take their time to just get used to the crate. If you have to leave an emergency, or even if you don't, and it is thundering and storming outside and your dog or your cat is really, really nervous, and you're worried about them dashing out the door, you can put them in the crate, put some of their toys, put some of their favorite treats in there. It's really going to help them, and it's also going to help you because that's one less thing that you have to be stressed about.
The Houston SPCA also has a checklist of supplies to have at the ready in case you need to evacuate, which includes your pet's medication, a 2-week supply of food, water, treats, a pet first aid kit, as well as your pet's vaccination record printed out and ready to go. Julie Kenstill, thank you so much. Houston SPCA for hosting us today and teaching us all about pet readiness. We appreciate it.
There's a new mayor at the helm in Houston.
I think we need all hands on deck. One reason I was excited to talk to you is to let Houstonians, the greater Houston community, realize this is serious.
And coming up, we sit down with John Whitmire for a look at how his past experience is bringing a new philosophy to the job. And did you know between 1980 and this season, 81 tropical or subtropical systems have affected Texas? The most active month for storms in Texas during that time was September, which has seen 21 systems hit the state since 1980.
With decades of experience designing and building pools for every lifestyle, space, and budget, Platinum Pools knows exactly how to set the stage for a lifetime of memories. For Houston's best-in-class pools, you've got to go Platinum.
We needed to replace our windows, and so we called a bunch of different companies. not mention their names because of the really, really high pressure sales, which was a big turnoff. And then we heard about Houston Window Experts. And Josh came to our house, explained the products. No pressure. It was very comfortable. And are we glad that we bought those windows because we really like them a lot.
Is this enough? Am I making a difference? Will this matter?
Hey, you join in?
Your community needs supportive people and helpful places to turn to. So do you. Help make your place the place they turn to. Visit turn2supportstx.org.
You're way shorter than I thought you'd be. There's a shirtless selfie of me by the dumbbells. Here I am. I do air drumming. I'm a competitive air drummer.
Oh, wow.
By the way, I forgot my wallet at home, so sugar mama.
Will you excuse me?
The Hyundai Tucson with advanced tech and safety features. There's joy in every journey. Get 2.99% APR for 60 months, plus $500 bonus cash on the Hyundai Tucson. Visit your local Hyundai dealer today.
With decades of experience designing and building pools for every lifestyle, space, and budget, Platinum Pools knows exactly how to set the stage for a lifetime of memories. For Houston's best-in-class pools, you've got to go Platinum.
This hurricane season is John Whitmire's first as mayor of Houston, but not his first helping the city deal with the aftermath of storms and flooding. And he says he's already learning lessons. We sat down together to talk about his approach to leading the city through emergencies. We really wanted to talk to you about your first hurricane season here, and it's expected to be a busy one. It's expected to be an impactful one.
I think we need all hands on deck. One reason I was excited to talk to you is to let Houstonians, the greater Houston community, realize this is serious. And everyone needs to personally, their families, get prepared because the city's getting prepared. And certainly our recent storms has given us an opportunity to dust off all of our best tools and resources. I only learned during the recent storm that our multi-service centers do not have generators. So when you refer people to a multi-service center, or we try to gear up as a cooling center, and the power's out to the multi-service center, no generators. So I've begun talking to the federal government, FEMA, and others about helping us with generations.
Let's talk about your role now. How do you view your role as mayor during the season? Where does like hurricane preparedness rank with? You were just telling me your job when you come in, it's everything you've done in the past in government, but on steroids.
Yeah. It is. Being the mayor of Houston is a challenge. It's a hard job. I've prepared my whole adult life for it as a legislator for over 50 years. The relationships, working with the county. We've got county commissioners started calling me the night of the storm. We're bringing our resources from the outside Houston into the city of Houston in their precincts. The unincorporated areas have resources. We're bringing our trucks and crews. My role is to make sure that it's running on time, to make certain that I can get the department heads the resources they need.
Houston more prepared for a storm like Harvey?
We know the names of the storms and we know the damage, and they're not our friends. So what we have to do is be prepared and be ready for the unexpected. And you do that by having the resources. We have much mobility and rescue vehicles today than we did prior to Harvey. A lot of federal funds have come down, FEMA funding. So I just think, and that's the benefit of your conversation with me, is to let everybody know we all have a responsibility to play. Certainly I have one, and we'll be held accountable. And it's amazing, just a little variation off path will change the impact totally.
It's everything.
But we don't want a major storm to hit Houston directly. Yeah. But we'll be prepared. We'll reach out. You know, what it does, it shows how great Houston is to look out for one another. Our unity. We're proud of our diversity, our separate communities, their culture, their language, But when we get in these crisis situations, we become Houstonians.
Hurricane kits are an essential every year. And whether you're just building it or adding and replacing items, you're probably paying more this year than last year. It's Brittany Begley's first hurricane season as a member of the Storm Tracker 2 weather team. So let's go along with her as she looks for the most cost-efficient way to keep yourself and your family safe.
And how much is it going to cost you to keep you and your family safe if a hurricane knocks out your power for days?
From the Dollar Tree to H-E-B, your weather team is looking out for you. From safety all the way down to the bottom line.
Here is a gallon of water. They say you want a gallon of water per person per day, $1.25. We're taking it. It's a good deal. H-E-B, I found a gallon of water for $1.34. Dollar Tree was $1.25, so it's not that big of a difference. You could always stockpile your water so that you can slowly prepare for hurricane season. Next, we're going to need non-perishable food. Tuna for $1.25. It's going to keep you full, protein, and help you get through the storm.
Then we went to H-E-B to check out deals on higher priced items.
Turkey is a fan favorite, but it's also very expensive, which makes stockpiling a great option for you. When you look for those in-store coupons, you can pretty much save money on anything.
Next on our list, battery and chargers. Starting at the Dollar Tree.
Hurricane kit is not complete without flashlights and batteries. And while my list does say cell phone chargers, I didn't really find that here, but I did find some cell phone wires, which could help with that portable charger.
So we went straight to H-E-B to try to find the rest.
We have name brand, we have store brand, and of course I was excited to see this, cell phone chargers to help keep you powered and safe during the storm while you get your groceries.
Can't forget about first aid kits when we think about preparing for the next hurricane.
You can't beat a dollar cooler, especially when it comes to your medications and first aid kits. You can see some first aid kits can cost you $50, $60, $70. We have do-it-yourself kits to help save you a little time, stress, and frustration before the storm.
Then we went to H-E-B to try to find a kit.
First aid kits, they can be kind of expensive, so always look for ones that are on sale. And if you have apps like Ibotta, those coupon apps can actually help you save a little bit more too.
Then I asked each store for a little secret when it comes to preparing for your hurricane, starting with the Dollar Tree.
And according to the staff, this is one of the hottest items people come for. This is the disposable washcloths here. You can see they offer a whole bunch of different varieties for you, even body wash, something to think about as you prepare for the storm. Let's talk about coolers, because we all know these babies can be really hard to find during hurricane season, and they're kind of expensive. But the folks at H-E-B say buy your coolers around the holidays. They always have a sale, so you're gonna save money, you're gonna enjoy those holidays with cooler drinks, and be prepared during hurricane season.
So overall, after checking both stores, they both have some great options. Check the Dollar Tree to save money on name brand items, but if you're looking to save money, H-E-B store brand items might be a little bit cheaper for you. But if you're living paycheck to paycheck and on a budget, Dollar Tree may help you while you're waiting for the next payday.
When storms hit, one of the most valuable resources to have is our KPRC2 Storm Tracker app. When you open it up, you'll first see current conditions for your location and a live radar that's interactive and customizable. So right now, I'm showing you current precipitation, but I can toggle it to also show futurecast, temperatures, even current traffic. Now on our app, you'll also be able to see the hour-by-hour forecast that gets updated by our meteorologists. You can also watch our live streams here too, and this is where we analyze storms in real time. Now this is actually one of my favorite parts of the app, because when the power goes out and your TV won't turn on, you can still get the life-saving information through the app. Just remember to keep your devices charged. You can customize your app however you want to get notifications for watches, warnings, and advisories that will get sent directly to your phone. And of course, nothing is more powerful than seeing exactly what's happening in your neighborhood. This is why we've made it really easy to access Click to Pins, where you can upload your own photos and you can see photo shares from your neighbors. Downloading this app is simple. Just search KPRC in your app store and download the Storm Tracker 2 app, which is free on all app stores.
We've been talking you through the basics about hurricanes, but we also wanted to know, what questions do you have about the upcoming season or about storms themselves? When we come back, our entire team is sitting down to answer your concerns.
The KPRC2 Hurricane and Flood Survival Guide is sponsored by BKV Energy. BKV Energy provides Texas homeowners and renters with simple and affordable fixed-rate electricity.
We love our dads, and they love us. Celebrate with everything he needs to have fun out there. Find the perfect Father's Day gift at Academy Sports and Outdoors with up to $400 off saves.
Our house is back and better than ever. Ron Carter Ford stands stronger than ever. No addendums, no hidden fees. You pay what you see. Just minutes from the Beltway or 45. Come see me, Anthony Valverde at Ron Carter Ford, or shop roncarterford.com.
Hi, little bird. Oh, hi, little bird. Oh, so cute.
Oh, that was lucky. This is luckier.
Luck turns to winning fast at Noscala Casino in Livingston, the luckiest spot in Texas.
Body scan came back. He said that I had a mild aneurysmal dilation of the infrarenal aorta, which, trust me, I had no idea what that was. They immediately put me in the hospital. I was in the hospital for 1 day, 1 night. I feel great. Truly, I feel like an advanced body scan saved my life. The money that I spent on those scans, I could have still had that, which they could have used it to pay for my funeral.
This house is a Generac house, and you're just the person to keep it running. Because a proud homeowner has a protective instinct. And frankly, the brains to know the grid is gonna let you down sometimes. That's why when the rest of the block is lighting candles and looking for flashlights, you're ready to rock and roll. It's not just a generator, it's Power Move. Request a free quote today.
We are now live. Welcome back to our Hurricane and Flood Survival Guide. We've been giving you the basics of preparedness, but now we want to get specific.
Yeah, we asked folks to send in questions. They certainly delivered, so let's just get right to it.
All right, let's do it. So, first question is, Marissa asked, with so many more high-rise condos being built here in Houston, what specific preparations or safety information is suggested for those communities? Meaning things like, is the wind speed higher or stronger on the higher floors of a building? Given the fact that we just had the derecho a couple weeks ago, I feel this is a very relevant question.
Yeah, and it's important to realize that there's what's called the Bernoulli's principle, and so what that states is the lower the pressure, the stronger the winds, or the higher the height, the stronger the winds. And we saw that because when we had the derecho that moved through, we had 70-mile-per-hour winds around downtown, but in downtown specifically, that's where you had the 100-mile-per-hour winds. So that was actually being funneled up and getting stronger.
Well, and I can give you an example. If you have a 110-mile-an-hour wind at the surface, which hopefully we wouldn't get that in Houston, but we could. If you have a 110-mile-an-hour wind at the surface, if you go up 30 floors, and most of these high rises are 30 floors, that 110 will become 130. I mean, by 20, it will go from a strong Cat 1 to a Cat 4 at the top of that building. And if at top of 50, it'll go to 135 to 140. So the higher you go, the stronger that wind is going to be. You look at what Wilma did to Miami back in 2005, and it came from the other side of Florida. It didn't even go right into Miami, the other side. And all the high-rise buildings, all of them had windows falling out. So to your point about strengthening buildings and building codes, it's all about the windows. And you can flood in a high-rise. I've known people on the 13th floor that have flooded because, because that wind-driven rain comes right through those windows and right through those patio doors.
And the other thing, to really get to the answer to the question, do you know how well your high-rise is built? And
they're usually pretty good. I mean, I've spoken to a lot of them. They do have a plan, and they're usually pretty good, and they'll certainly share the information with you.
Right, and so that's important to know that, and also to realize that debris flying around is also going to hit those windows.
Bingo.
Too, so
rocks, pebbles, whatever else is there.
If you've ever been in one, you can feel it, and that wind's coming through.
My advice is get on the lower floors.
That's just my advice.
That's for sure. That's a great question. Okay, here comes question number 2. This is from Lilibeth. Lilibeth asks, given the prediction and the high heat that we've already seen this year, will the arrival of peak hurricane season arrive earlier than usual? Great question.
Yes. So peak hurricane season is typically going to be September 9th or 10th. So we're not going to see that move any earlier, but it might feel like peak for longer because of the intensity of the storms and the frequency of the storms.
Yeah, and we've been watching this season already come together. The water is the big question. How warm is it? That's always the big question. And it's pretty warm this year, pretty hot this year. And so with that hot water, my concern when I'm looking at this season is the chance for some rapid intensification. We're talking earlier, Justin, about those coastal waters right near the shoreline that could really pop those storms like bread out of a toaster and make things really bad in a short period of time. So that will be the concern that would be most concerned about with this season and when we start to see those storms develop, especially in the Gulf.
Well, last year with Otis, what happened? It was a tropical depression to a Cat 4, wasn't it? A Cat 5 hurricane in
24 hours.
24 hours.
Yeah, that was the one off of Acapulco, and that was in the warm Pacific water. But Michael did that, and Laura did that. All these Ian did that in Florida. So everything is intensifying to Cat 4s and 5s toward the last 20 hours of their life, right before landfall. And that's where they're going to hit some of the warmest water. Right before landfall, because that shallow, that warm water's right there.
Yeah. Well, a couple of the buoys that we've been tracking over the past probably week or so, even into last week, Anthony, you and I were looking at those last Thursday, Friday. Those buoys that are near shore buoys, right off the shore there, are 84, 85, 86, right? And so we're not talking about deep water, but even some of the deeper water spots are above 80 degrees. And you always say that's the threshold, right? You get to 80, that's go time there.
Yeah, so and during Harvey, it was 86, but it was 86, 200 feet deep. So even when it did what they call scafed the top of the water, sort of pushes that, and you expect the cold water to come up. More warm water came out. It wouldn't stop.
It's a bathtub.
It was. The world's biggest bathtub. It's still here. All right, next question. Great one here, too. Catherine asked, she says, hey, I'm in the Galleria area, as many people are. Will there be more tornadoes, and what should I do if there is one, given the fact that we have had quite an explosive spring so far with multiple tornadoes that have confirmed a touchdown, including our cleanup efforts today in Cyprus, right?
Yeah, we had the tornado.
Recent ones. I think it's a great question, don't you think so?
I think it's all about, too, social media, because we're getting those pictures like this, so we know exactly what's happening. We used to have to wait a really long time, and now I know within 10 seconds who got hit and what happened, even though we have to wait for the National Weather Service to verify. Just seeing those pictures and then coming together as a community and say, this tree knocked down my house. I don't have electricity. I just bought groceries. I pay paycheck to paycheck. I go to click2houston.com and I go and find out, okay, well, guess what? I have insurance, so I can get $500 back. And I think now that we have these resources like our app and Click to Houston, we can really help each other recover from the storm. And that's what I just love about our pictures and our app is that we can see what's going on.
Yeah, well, and Click2Pins, we've been detailing those forever now at this point, and that's a real big resource. I know all of us at the table here have said, y'all out there are eyes and ears out in the community, right? We can see what's on the radar, but a lot of times, just like this morning, you found out it's just big red blob coming in, right? We need to know what's happening on the ground. And
we saw that during the derecho.
Yes.
As it moved across, and the Click2Pins were coming in. My neighborhood. It's so important to show people what's going on. So you're absolutely right.
And with tropical systems, when a storm's coming in, the whole entire area goes under a tornado watch. And so when you get that watch, realize that it's possible to get a tornado where you live, whether you're in the Galleria, whether you're in Katy, or all the way out in Huntsville. If you're in that box, it's possible.
And remember, during Harvey, we had so many tornado warnings, they stopped issuing them. It just became noise. So they tried to wait for the really more specific
explosive ones.
The ones they really thought weren't just winds twisting, but actual on-the-ground tornadoes. But there were over 200 and something tornado warnings in about a 6-hour period.
I remember you and I were on the air, and we took them off because it was just a sea of red.
It was all these boxes.
Meadville up to parts of Fort Bend County, and it's like, okay, that's a threat, but a lot of that was just some rotation in the cloud. So it's like, let's get to the biggest.
To Anthony's point, if you're anywhere in Houston, you're going to have the chance of getting a tornado, and you can't pick them up with radar very well because they're in the first 10,000 feet. They're not way up here where the radar's shooting. They're way down here below because you get the storm coming in, winds out of the the southeast, winds coming in from the southwest, from the north, all these different wind directions, and therefore in the bottom part of that hurricane, that's where you're going to have your tornadoes. Very hard to see.
Yeah.
That inherent rotation, I feel like, is a really part of a hurricane that people don't stress a lot. Tornadoes can be just as dangerous in a hurricane.
Yeah. Oh,
that's a good point.
And worse.
Yeah.
And when Katrina came into Pass Christian, Mississippi, big tornado outbreak south of Atlanta that was deadly. So it can be very far away from where the system actually makes landfall.
Those are all great questions. We're going to take a
little, answer more.
We're going to take a pause, so stay with us. We've got more answers for you coming up after the break.
As the school year comes to a close, we're getting our first look at HISD STAAR test results. What Superintendent Mike Miles is saying about the results for NES schools and non-NES schools at 10.
Summer's here and it's another scorcher. Hot, sticky, and unbearable, that's the one. Be ready this year, choose American Standard Air. It's my brand, and take my word. Comfort the way you like it. AmericanStandardAir.com.
Did you know in Texas, if you don't have the right credit score, the right driving record, or if you're not bundling, you may be overpaying as much as $1,700 a year for your car insurance? At Fred Loya Insurance, we look for more and better ways to save you more. Like customers in Texas who switched from Geico, Allstate, and Progressive to Fred Loya saved an average of over $1,700 per year. Call us today and see how much you can save. Fred Loya Insurance, celebrating 50 years of saving you more on your car insurance.
It's time to stop worrying about mattress shopping because at the Living Spaces Sleep Center, we treat you to an easy, no-stress experience. Our team of non-commissioned experts are here to guide you, whether you're looking for top brands like Tempur-Pedic, Sealy, and Purple, an organic option like Avocado, or the latest in mattress technology, which you'll get with our Revive Adaptive Sleep Mattress. With free shipping as soon as next day, you can start sleeping better tomorrow. Discover the difference at the Living Spaces Sleep Center.
Living Spaces.
That's everything.
That's everything.
Yeah? Everything? Not everything.
The Hyundai Palisade. With advanced tech and award-winning safety. There's joy in every journey. Get 3.49% APR plus $750 bonus cash on the Hyundai Palisade. Visit your local Hyundai dealer today.
Own the coolest house on the block. Go with my brand, American Standard Air. Feel the performance, know the value. Summer's here, why fry? Comfort the way you like it. AmericanStandardAir.com.
We have given you a lot of information tonight, and you can find it again whenever you need it at click2houston.com/hurricane. That's also where you can download this year's Hurricane Flood and Survival Guide. It has a checklist to keep your family organized before, during, and after a hurricane or flood, as well as contact numbers for your emergency officials. We urge you to download it and save it to your phone or tablet so you'll have it even if cell and Wi-Fi networks are down.
Yep, we want to thank you for joining us for this hour on KPRC2, but over around here.
No. That's right.
We're going to continue to answer your questions. I'm looking at like 9 or 10 really good questions we haven't gotten to.
Right.
So we're going to go to KPRC2 Plus live, and we will answer those questions there in just a moment.
Yeah, we're very excited as well. Not only that, but I want to thank everybody for sending in those questions we've been asking. We've got some really good ones today here as well. A lot of questions that we've sort of put together from folks that have asked very similar things, which to me always is an indication that that's something that's buzzing in the community.
Yes.
Right? If we're getting multiple people that are asking the same question.
And despite what you've heard, the takeaway is no matter how many storms we have, it only takes one.
Right. And to be prepared for that one.
Exactly.
Yes. Yeah. We hope that you've gotten some preparation for that. And guess what? We've got more questions. Join us on Plus. We'll see you there after the break.
So we needed